Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to another insightful conversation. Today we are discussing the benefits of learning a new language. Learning a language is more than just memorizing words. It is a gateway to new cultures, opportunities, and personal growth. To help us explore this topic, we will have Maya with us today. Welcome, Maya.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for having me. I love this topic because learning a language is basically like getting a new set of eyes to see the world with. Where do you want to start?
What does learning a new language mean beyond simply speaking and understanding words?
It's really about shifting your perspective. It's like uncovering a secret door to how other people actually think and feel. Some languages have words for emotions or concepts that don't even exist in English. So when you learn those, you're actually expanding your own emotional vocabulary. It's less about the translation and more about the transformation of how you experience things. Do you think most people miss out on that deeper connection because they focus too much on the grammar?
Why do so many people choose to learn a second or third language today?
I think it's a mix of a few things. For some, it's the practical side, career boosts, or easier travel. But there's also this deep human desire to connect. In a world that feels increasingly digital and distant, being able to speak someone's native tongue is one of the most genuine ways to say, I see you and I value your world enough to learn it. It's a bit of an ego check, too, because you have to be okay with sounding like a toddler for a while. Does that vulnerability appeal to people, or is it more about the utility?
How can learning a new language improve cognitive abilities and brain health?
It's like a full body workout for your brain. It actually like physically changes the brain's structure, making it more flexible. You're constantly switching between different systems of logic and grammar, which sharpens your problem solving skills and improves your focus. There's even a lot of research suggesting it can delay the onset of things like dementia by keeping the brain active and resilient. It's essentially a way to keep your mind young and agile. I wonder if you've noticed your own thinking feel different when you switch between languages?
In what ways does language learning help people better understand different cultures?
That's because language and culture are basically the same thing. You can't really have one without the other. When you learn a language, you're not just learning how to order a coffee, you're learning the social cues, the history, and the values of the people who speak it. For example, the way a language handles formality or respect often tells you everything you need to know about how that society views hierarchy in relationships. It's the difference between observing a culture from the outside and actually stepping inside the room. Do you think we can ever truly understand a culture if we only rely on translations?
No, I don't think so. Can learning another
Exactly.
language Can learning another language improve communication skills in your native language as well?
Oh, absolutely. It forces you to actually pay attention to how your own language works. You start noticing the patterns, the quirks, and the why behind the way you speak, which usually makes you a much more intentional communicator overall. It's kind of like how learning a second instrument makes you a better musician on your first one. Have you ever found yourself questioning why a certain phrase in your native language is used the way it is?
How can being multilingual create new educational and career opportunities?
It opens so many doors, mostly because it makes you a bridge. On the professional side, it's a huge competitive edge. Companies love people who can navigate different markets and handle the nuance of a deal without a translator. But beyond the paycheck, it's about the access it gives you to information. You can read original texts, listen to local experts, and find niches that people who only speak one language completely miss. It's basically a superpower for networking. Do you think the pressure to be marketable takes away from the joy of learning for the sake of learning?
What role does language learning play in boosting confidence and personal development?
It's a huge confidence builder, mostly because it's a journey of 1,000 tiny failures. You're constantly putting yourself out there and making mistakes in public, which eventually teaches you that the world doesn't end when you mess up a verb conjugation. It builds this incredible resilience and a sense of, I can handle this, that spills over into every other part of your life. Plus, there's that rush of adrenaline when you finally have your first real conversation and realize, wait, they understood me. It's a total victory for the ego. Do you think most people avoid it because they're afraid of that initial awkwardness?
Yes.
It's a total mental block. I think we've all been there, fearing that we'll say something completely wrong and it'll be an absolute disaster. But that's actually where the magic happens. Which part of the learning process do you think is the hardest for most people to get past?
How can learning a language make travel experience more enjoyable and meaningful?
It turns travel from a sightseeing tour into a real experience. Instead of just hitting the main landmarks, you can actually talk to the people who live there. You find the hidden spots that aren't in any guidebook and get a sense of the local rhythm that you totally miss if you were just relying on a translation app. It's the difference between looking at a postcard and actually being in the picture. Do you think the tourist label disappears when you can speak the local language?
What are some common challenges people face when learning a new language?
The biggest one is definitely the plateau. You know, that moment where you've moved past the basics, but you're not quite fluent yet, and it feels like you're just spinning your wheels. Then there's the sheer time commitment and the struggle to stay consistent when the initial excitement wears off. And of course, the fear of sounding silly, which we touched on earlier, can really keep people from practicing in the real world. Do you think it's a lack of motivation or just a lack of a good system that keeps people stuck?
How can beginners stay motivated when progress feels slow?
I think the key is shifting the goalposts. Instead of focusing on fluency, which is this huge, vague mountain, you have to start celebrating the tiny wins, like finally understanding a joke in a movie or successfully ordering a meal without the waiter switching to English. When you make the goal about connection rather than perfection, the slow progress feels less like a failure and more like a puzzle you're slowly solving.
Are
Does
there
that make
any
sense? Or do
effective
you think people,
are there any effective
it def
daily habits that can help someone learn a new language faster?
oh, for sure. The best way is to just weave it into your life so it's not another core on your to-do list. I'm a big fan of the immersion at home approach, changing your phone's language settings, listening to podcasts in that language while you're commuting, or even talking to yourself out loud while you're doing the dishes. It's all about those micro habits that keep the language alive in your head all day. Do you think most people try to make it too formal, like treating it like a school subject instead of a living thing?
What are some misconceptions people have about becoming fluent in a new language?
Mm. The biggest one is definitely the idea that there's some magical endpoint called fluency. People think once they hit this invisible line, they'll suddenly just know the language and never have to look something up again. But the reality is that even people who've lived in a country for a decade still encounter words they don't know. Fluency isn't a destination, it's more like a lifelong relationship with the language that keeps evolving. I also think people believe they're too old to learn, which is just a myth. Adults actually have certain cognitive advantages that kids don't. Do you think that fear of never being perfect is what stops people from even starting?
Before we conclude, Maya, what is the most important message you would like to leave our audience about learning a new language?
I'd say the most important thing is to just embrace the messiness of it all. Stop worrying about the grammar or sounding a bit silly and just lean into the curiosity. Learning a language is one of the few things in life where making mistakes is actually the only way to move forward. So just start, be patient with yourself, and remember that the goal isn't perfection, it's connection. It's
Thank
about
you, Maya,
opening a
for
door to
sharing
a
your
whole new
valuable.
way. And you're so
Thank,
welcome. It was a blast talking through this with you. I hope everyone watching finds a little spark of curiosity to start their own language journey.
Today's discussion reminds us that language learning is not just about communication, it is about expanding our minds, connecting with people, and opening doors to new opportunities. Thank you to our audience for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in our next meaningful conversation. Until then, take care and keep learning. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.